Okay, well, overall, what else that the audience thought that was successful about production, according to our feedback? Personally, we thought that everyone picked up on the successful points very well due to the fact they were able to identify the key moments and take out the most successful parts. Our audience associated the most successful parts with either the editing or the narrative. The audience thought that the technical aspects of our work, like the editing and the jump cuts and all of that, and it showed it quite well for our feedback, and everyone quite understood what we were trying to do with the use of that. Here are some quotes from our audience.
We thought a lot about that though, like
The
jump cuts and everything, like when filming, it was something we thought about a lot.
Definitely. The good use of jump cuts passes time. The placement of graphics was good on the folders, and there were a lot of unique shots. Here, we're able to see that the audience picked up on the fact that the businessman is having a huge work pile to deal with, which leads to his daily struggle, which puts emphasis on our target audience being able to understand our narrative. And we think that if the audience is able to pick up on this, we have used editing very well to represent meaning. And also, the passing of time. Due to the fact we were creating a British social realism film, we were not able to use as much effects as maybe we wanted to, but we used continuity editing, and we also used transitions between the shots to help the audience understand what we're trying to denote to them. In our shooting script, we also planned for the graphics to appear on top of the folders, again to emphasize the build-up of work, and this is something that we did in our pre-planning. We also thought that the music for our film, which was made composed, matched the pace of the film. This was again a quote from one of our audience feedback. Initially, we were going to use the music now, which is playing in the background of our opening sequence. However, after discussion with teachers and also with Rianne, we thought that the music which we initially had composed for our opening sequence didn't really conform to the music of a British social realism film. However, we then had to compose a new soundtrack to play in the background for our opening sequence. We obviously had to have quite a strong sense of music, as there was no dialogue in our opening sequence, and we wanted to actually emphasize that. Here, what's playing right now is the music that we have for our opening sequence. We think that it really emphasizes the hardships of daily life and the struggles that our main characters are going through, and it also shows the hopelessness of his wife. We think that the music also cut at the correct time to highlight the most important parts of the film, such as when the title comes up, and I think that the audience really engaged with that well and understood that, like the cuts of it. Attention to the title of the film, and it also gives the audience something to think about. Another quote used from our audience was that the title was creative, the graphics went on well in good positions and for nearly for every shot, and the no use of diegetic sound contributed to the themes very well. Rianne and I thought long and hard about how to place the graphics in the title. We think that the title really connotes the themes of our opening sequence. As the title Squashin', when they appear on the screen, it emphasizes the fact that the characters in the film feel suffocated by everyday life and feel as if it was getting too much for both of them to deal with. The businessman feels as if he's suffocated by life, his work, his boring job, and all of that. Then the routine of his daily life is not really giving the fulfillment of what he needs anymore, and he's trying to relieve himself of this everyday boring lifestyle, but can't think what
It's alright.
cheating with his wife with prostitution. The woman is suffocated by her husband as she cannot take his drinking addiction anymore, the abuse. She feels that the only way to deal with this is to drown her sorrows with alcohol. Her husband ignores her. She still actually takes the effort, as we can see, to prepare all the food and all of that. Even though after all this time, she's still fulfilling the roles of a good wife.
The lack of appreciation is just really shown.
Yeah.
She doesn't get. He just walks straight past her. There's no significance of her even being there. It's like she doesn't exist to him.
Basically. We are also glad that the audience found the graphics appropriate due to the fact we are creating a British social realism film. We were not able to use any fancy graphics. We think that the text again here reveals the themes within our sequence as they are plain, spaced out, which reflects the theme of isolation within our opening sequence. Rihanna and I purposely did not include any diegetic sound in order for the theme to stand out and put emphasis on, so the audience were able to connote the narrative very well, despite the known use of diegetic sound. I think that's quite powerful, as if there was no words and the audience actually understood what was going on due to the power of the music, we think,
shows how
yeah,
well it's been presented.
I think
like the tension's built up, and with the music, it builds up all together. It all works really well together, and it's something we thought about because we had it made specifically for us, and then we told the person who was making it what our thing was about, how the film is set out, and so he made it according to our opening sequence.
And I think, despite the fact the two characters are actually married, they have no bond, but they feel as if they have nobody to talk to about their problems, and they have no love left in it. And I think, again, here are the graphics, when they squash in, they feel lonely and isolated. It kind of reflects each character. We also think that there are some weaknesses in our opening sequence, and this was given to us by our audience. Yeah, and there are some points which we could improve on. The audience had picked up on some stuff, but we received a comment saying that there was a use of too many shots. Me and Rianne both disagree about this comment, because we thought that we should include a variety of shots in order to show our ability of the way we can use shots and create meaning. And we think by using a variety of shots, we can show the audience that we're able to create meaning through the shots and how they work, and also about conforming to the conventions of British social realism film. We didn't go over the top with using them, but we made it interesting for the audience to watch.
We used the right amount. Like, each shot had a purpose to it. There weren't any like pointless shots that were put in. So each shot we did, like whether it was over the shoulder, high angle, low angle, it each had a purpose to every shot to show something.
Another thing was that there was a lighting issue when the man was walking up the stairs when the jump shots were taking place. Right, here, Rihanna and I identified that this, when we were editing, we found this issue out. But really, it's nothing that we could have really done about it, because we didn't shoot it at 2 different times. It's all done at one time. But as we tilted the camera up to show the man walking up the stairs, it was just the natural lighting camera that happened. It was just an effect that happened by the natural lighting. But then here, I think this connotes a British social realism film, because
it's not perfect.
Yeah, because in the conventional British social realism film, they use natural lighting. We couldn't use artificial lighting. So I think here, despite this being a weakness, it might actually be a positive thing. It actually shows and reflects the genre of our film. Yeah. The editing at the beginning with the folders made it seem as if the time was going too slow. Right here, this basically was the whole point of the editing at the beginning of our opening sequence. However, this comment highlights the fact that British social realism films are not for everyone, and this is why British social realism films usually have quite a small niche audience, because not everyone understands what they actually are.
But at least they picked up on the fact, like, they picked up on what we wanted to do, even though they didn't think it worked. We wanted to show time passing, and obviously they picked up on that, so, you know.
Yeah, even though they thought about it in the wrong way, they still picked up
what we wanted to do.
And I think due to our target audience, it's slightly difficult for the people in this age range to understand a British social realism film, as many of them have actually not watched a film like this before, which reflects real life. But we don't think it's a problem due to the fact that the majority of our audience actually understood the themes and why we have included certain editing techniques. The graphics were too small. We think we made the graphics small, but not too small for them to read. Usually, graphics are not really something that an audience would actually put their focus on towards. I think mainly because we used the audience which were familiar with what graphics were and what they had to look like, and I think that's why maybe they picked up on a point. But really, when you're watching a film, you don't really pick up the graphics. They only need enough time for you to read the graphics, really.
But if we had to go back and change something, I think the graphics is the main thing that we would try change and make it bigger, placement, or just how long it's on the screen for.
I think also due to the lack of time, maybe I think that's why the graphics maybe weren't exactly how we wanted, but they were okay for the amount of time I think we had. Okay, and that's done.